Hey, Kim Croucher here from Interlude Mind Body Fitness. We're going to do an exercise, Jillian and I, for pelvic stability. So this one is done, obviously, when you're laying prone, and Jillian's got her hands underneath her forehead, just to sort of prop her forehead up so she can really rest the neck area. And I'll just run through the setup and the positioning. The motion is going to happen through the lower body, but we want to really consider the whole body in this exercise to make sure that we're building optimum strength, not allowing unnecessary tension to collect in areas through the neck and the shoulders. So with the head resting on the hands, arms are nice and wide, but you want to make sure that you're just mindfully stabilizing the shoulder blades in a healthy place. So if you're not paying attention, your shoulder blades may be crowding the neck area. So finding the muscles that just gently draw the shoulder blades down, creating lots of space here around the neck and the shoulders. So not forceful, but enough that there's some connection and awareness of being supported through here. Then as you go down through the mid-body into the low body, you want to check that your ribs are not collapsing into the mat. There's a little bit of tone here where the ribs are still inside the body as opposed to flaring out, creating tension or stress in the mid-back. Through the low back, a nice image here to get that subtle support is to imagine that spacious feeling all the way around your waist, like you're trying to create distance between the lowest ribs and the top of the pelvis all the way around your body. This just engages that deep support system. You want to make sure that in an attempt to connect to the abdominals that you don't suck your stomach in. If you suck your stomach in, and you can go ahead and try that, pulling the belly up with all you have, it's impossible to continue to breathe in a tension-free manner. So you've lost all that deep support you get from just breathing optimally. So you want to have that subtle lift through the abdominals, but not to the point where it affects your ability to breathe freely. Okay? Now through the pelvis, those three landmark bones that we find when we're laying down, you want to consider them also here when you're in a prone position. Have a sense of those three bones being drawn toward the mat, almost like a magnet is drawing them towards. They may not physically be touching the mat, but they are heading toward the mat in a really uniform way. That stops you from overarching the low back. Now the motion is going to happen from the hip joints down. This is called single leg extension. So what Jillian's going to attempt to do is choose one leg, start to lengthen that leg so much so that it floats off the mat. Now Jillian's got a little bit of space between her feet. Her feet are a little wider than her hips. She's also got a slight turn out in her thighs, and that just helps her recruit up the back of the leg into the glute muscles. So let's stay on the same leg a few times, Jillian, so you can watch and you can do this with Jillian at home, lifting and lowering the same leg. So here are some of the things you want to try to check for in your own body. First, as you lift the leg, if you bend your knee, even the slightest amount to lift your leg, that's a sign that the hamstrings are doing the bulk of the work. Hamstrings are definitely involved, but if your leg remains straight, then the lift has to be initiated with the glutes, which is what we're trying to do. So straight leg, really important. Next is the pelvis. If you're not mindful, the minute you lift a leg, you might start to rock the pelvis, the same side of the pelvis, into the mat. So by rocking your pelvis, you lose that deep support. You lose those deep local muscles that give you stability around your pelvis and the low back. They can't contribute in the same way. Trying to keep equal weight on both sides of the pelvis as you lift your leg is your objective. Finally, I'm going to get Jillian to change her arm position in a moment, so just keep your hands there for one more minute. The last thing, and this is a bit of a surprise because we're focusing here on lifting and lowering the leg, What you may not be aware of is that the minute you lift your leg, that you start tensing in your neck, believe it or not. So notice next time you do this, if you're tensing neck and shoulders, see if you can stay conscious of how you're supporting the upper body so there's no change when you lift and lower your leg. Now we're going to do the other side. I want you to try this at home. Bring your hands to a new place. So this is a way at home you can monitor whether or not your pelvis is moving. So Jillian's going to slip her hands just under the edges of the sides of her pelvis so she can feel those two pelvic bones on either side. I'm going to give her a little bit of a lift, and at home you could just roll up a towel to put under your forehead so your neck is still in good alignment, but your nose is not being squished into the mat. So now Jillian's going to do the other leg, and she's going to be able to sense right away as she starts to lift that leg if her pelvis is falling heavier into the same hand as her lifting leg. This is really common. We lose that stability right away. The act of trying to keep that weight on your hands equal as you lift and lower your leg is going to strengthen all the deep spinal muscles that begin to talk to your pelvis, into the sacrum, up into the low back, and continues right up through the spine. As you're lifting your leg, you want to make sure the breath is still flowing. As you lift and lower the leg, you want to continue to scan what's going on in my neck area, in my shoulder area. This position with your hands might be more difficult for you to keep the shoulders in a healthy place. So you may not want to stay here with your hands under the pelvis for your whole, for both sides for the whole workout, but it's not a bad idea to slip them in there and just check and see. This is something that I would do, or an instructor would do if they were working with you. They would put their hands and give you feedback. But if you're on your own, slip them in, and at least for a few repetitions, and see if you're able to keep that stability. Height of the leg is not your objective. It's all about keeping that stability as you create this long, low lift and lower with the leg. 5 to 8 repetitions on each side is perfect. Okay, great. Thanks for watching.